I discovered a live stream of my wife being humiliated, so I ruined their wedding and filed charges. Hey, I gave a toast at my son's wedding and made the bride cry in front of 100 people. Grab some snacks. This one is intense. I am Daniel, 61, male. I spent 32 years as a marine systems engineer, designing emergency response protocols for container ships crossing the North Atlantic. The kind of systems that kick in when everything else fails. I have learned exactly one thing from all of it. Panic gets people killed. Control keeps them alive. My son Connor was getting married that Saturday, big venue on the water near Gig Harbor, rented mansion overlooking the Sound. The whole thing ran about $78,000 total, and I was covering 60% of it because that is what Connor expected. When I was working offshore during his childhood, I had made up for my absence with money, birthday checks, tuition payments, car purchases when his got repossessed. Somewhere along the line, I had trained him to see me as a wallet instead of a father. That was on me. What I did not own was what he had become. I woke up around 6:45 a.m. to a sound coming from the guest bathroom. Muffled. Wrong. The kind of sound that hits something in your gut before your brain catches up. My wife, Iris, was not in bed beside me. I checked the clock on the nightstand. 6:48 a.m. The ceremony was not until noon, but Iris was always an early riser, especially when she was stressed about something. She had probably been up since 5, running through the day schedule in her head, worrying about stuff nobody else would notice. I pushed open the bathroom door. What I saw made everything stop. Iris was kneeling on white marble tile, completely still, her hands pressed against the sides of her head like she was trying to hold herself together. All around her were long strands of silver-white hair everywhere, scattered across the vanity like someone had gutted a pillow, tangled in the brass drain cover, stuck to her nightgown like wet leaves after a storm, floating in the shallow puddles of water near the sink. Her head was nearly bare, butchered patches of stubble mixed with random tufts that had been missed. Not a clean shave, not done on purpose, hacked at like someone had gone after her with garden shears while blindfolded and laughing. On the sink sat a pair of cordless hair clippers, still tangled with long strands of her silver hair that caught the morning light coming through the window. Next to the clippers was a handwritten note on pink stationery. It said she looks too old for the wedding video. Fixed it. You are welcome. The casual cruelty packed into those words like she had done us a favor. Then I noticed the phone on the vanity partially hidden behind a bottle of hand soap. Face up, screen still glowing. A Livestream app was open, showing that the broadcast had ended 11 minutes ago. The stream had been running for nearly 1 hour. Viewer count at cutoff, 52,000 people. 52,000 strangers had watched my wife get humiliated in real time. I followed a thin black cable running behind a stack of folded towels in the corner. It led to a small camera about the size of a golf ball mounted on a suction cup at the exact angle to capture Iris's face as she looked into the mirror. Professional placement. Someone had put thought into lighting and angles and getting the best reaction shot. This was not some spur-of-the-moment thing. This was produced, planned, set up for maximum views. Iris whispered something so quiet I almost missed it. Maybe she is right. Maybe I am too old. That sentence hit me harder than anything I had seen that morning. I have been through enough shipboard incidents to know the first rule of any crisis. Preserve evidence. Document before you act. Do not touch anything you might need later. Do not let emotion mess up the chain of custody. I pulled out my own phone and started recording video. I captured the bathroom from multiple angles, the hair covering the floor like a crime scene, the clippers on the vanity with strands still tangled in the blades. Everything. Then I opened my email app and sent the video directly to my brother-in-law, Raymond. Ray had been a county sheriff's deputy for 26 years before retiring last spring. He lived about 40 minutes from the venue in a small house near Tacoma. He would know exactly what to do with evidence like this. He would know what would hold up and what would not. Subject line: Wedding day. Iris was assaulted while sleeping. Evidence attached. I need you here. I knelt beside Iris on the cold tile, put my hand on her shoulder, felt her shaking under the thin fabric of her nightgown. That hair had been with her for 29 years. She had started growing it out after her mother passed away in 1996. Her mother had been her best friend growing up, used to brush Iris's hair every night when she was a little girl in Tacoma. Long, slow strokes while they watched television together, talking about school and friends and what they wanted from life. After the funeral, after we had driven home in silence from the cemetery with the smell of flowers and dirt still on our clothes, Iris made a quiet promise to herself. She never told me about it directly. I only found out years later from her sister at a family gathering after the conversation turned to old memories. She swore she would never cut that hair again. It was the last physical connection she had to her mother, and now it was all over the bathroom floor. I helped Iris to her feet. Her legs were shaky. I walked her back to the bed in the main room, one arm around her waist to keep her steady. I wrapped her in the thickest terry cloth robe we had brought, pulled the heavy curtains, closed to block the morning light. I am going to handle this, I said. All of it. You do not need to do anything right now except rest. She nodded, eyes distant. Eyes. That 1,000-yard stare I had seen on sailors after close calls at sea. She did not ask how I would handle it. 29 years of marriage. She knew that when I said something was handled, it got handled. I stepped into the hallway around 7:20 a.m. The mansion was waking up around me. Staff in black uniforms moved through the corridors carrying huge arrangements of white lilies and roses. Everything looked perfect, camera ready, the kind of staged fancy that only exists for an audience. The whole place had been turned into a set, and I was walking through it like a stagehand who had wandered into the wrong show. I walked toward the honeymoon suite where Connor and his fiancée Olivia were staying. Their door was cracked open, maybe 2 inches, not enough to see inside, but more than enough for sound to carry into the hallway. I was just walking past, but their voices stopped me cold. Olivia first, all fired up. Algorithm is going crazy, already past 80,000 views and climbing. Comments are blowing up, this is going to cover the honeymoon and then some. We might actually make money off this wedding. Connor's voice, lazy and smug with that entitled tone I had heard way too many times. Told you she would not fight back. Mom is soft. She cries for a bit and then forgives everyone because she cannot deal with conflict. That is just who she is. She would rather eat the damage than make anyone uncomfortable. Olivia laughed. The one that made my skin crawl the first time I heard it at a family dinner 2 years ago. Your dad is going to hand over that check no matter what. He spent his whole life writing checks to make up for being gone all the time. Guilt is basically his whole deal. You push the button and money comes out. We get the wedding gift, we get him to co-sign the mortgage because his credit is perfect and the content money pays off the cards. Easy. We are set for the next 3 years at least. I stood real still against the wall. The co-sign. That was news to me. Connor had come to me 5 weeks ago about co-signing his mortgage application. Said his credit was not where the bank needed it. Said it was just a technicality. He had been all charming about it. I had agreed because that is what I had always done. Write the check, sign the paper, bail him out. Now I got the full picture. The $25,000 wedding gift was not a gift. It was a shakedown. And the cosign was a setup. Connor's credit was wrecked from defaulting on car loans and business credit lines. If he defaulted on this mortgage, I would be stuck with $385,000 on a house I would never live in. They had been planning this for months. Olivia kept going, dripping with that satisfied contempt. Your parents are basically automated teller machines with heartbeats. You press the guilt button and money comes out. It has worked every time for 10 years. Why would today be different? Your mom is probably already practicing her forgiveness speech in her head. That woman would apologize to someone who stabbed her. Connor laughed low and mean and satisfied. That is my girl, always thinking ahead. This is why I love you. I turned and walked away before they could open the door. I had what I needed, more than I wanted, honestly. But knowing is half the battle, even when it stings. Back in the bedroom, I did not touch Olivia's phone or the hidden camera. Instead, I pulled up the Livestream platform on my own phone and found Olivia's public channel through a simple search of her username. Her video was still up, riding the algorithm, getting more views by the minute. Thumbnail showing her face with some exaggerated shocked expression and text overlay that said, "Mother-in-law makeover gone wrong." I screen recorded the entire 41-minute video directly from her public page, time-stamped by the platform, unedited, captured exactly as she had posted it to her followers. Then I went through the comment section. Hundreds of reactions. Most were laughing emojis, fire emojis, savage and queen energy replies from her fans. But scattered in there were dozens of people asking real questions. Did the mother consent? This seems like assault. Is this real? Someone should call the cops. This does not seem legal. I screenshot everything. Built a folder on my phone, labeled with the date. At 8 a.m., Ray pulled into the venue's service entrance in his old pickup truck. I texted him the address and a quick rundown. He had been on the road within 10 minutes of getting my email. I met him at the side door near the kitchen. He was carrying a professional evidence camera, a notebook, and a small kit bag. Old habits die hard. He looked at my face and did not ask questions, just followed me upstairs without a word. When he saw the bathroom, he let out a long breath through his teeth, stood in the doorway for about 15 seconds, taking it in. Then he got to work. He photographed everything from multiple angles. He bagged the clippers, same with the note, handling both with gloves, tagged everything with dates, times, and location markers. All of it would go to my attorney for safekeeping or to responding officers if the case went that direction. When he finished, he looked at me with an expression I knew well. You are going to file a formal report and you are going to need a lawyer today, not next week. I know someone who handles exactly this kind of thing, civil and criminal. She is fast and she does not mess around. He texted me a contact, a woman named Nicole O'Dara, specialized in personal injury, intentional torts, and privacy violation, had a reputation for being relentless. I called her at 8:20 a.m., explained the situation in under 4 minutes. She asked 3 clarifying questions, then said she could have preservation notices drafted and sent by 10 a.m. if I got her the documentation within 1 hour. Ray stayed with Iris while I dealt with the logistics, the kind of presence that makes people feel safe without needing conversation. I met the venue manager in the main hall at 9 a.m. His name was Harlan, late 50s, silver hair cut short. He showed up with a tablet and a folder of vendor contracts, looking a little worried but not alarmed. That was about to change. I pointed to a camera mounted above the entrance arch that had not been there during yesterday's rehearsal dinner, then another near the garden doors hidden inside a decorative light fixture, then a third tucked inside a floral arrangement on a marble pedestal. Who signed off on these? I asked. Harlan's face tightened. He started scrolling through his tablet, pulling up permits, consent forms, vendor agreements, checking dates, and signatures. The commercial broadcast permit had been filed by Olivia, signed by Olivia. The venue authorization form for external production equipment was also signed by Olivia. No property owner signature anywhere, no co-signature from the person who had actually paid for the venue. I pulled up the venue contract on my phone, the one I had signed and paid for 7 months ago when we had booked this date. Section 12, paragraph 4. Commercial filming, streaming, or broadcast activity conducted on venue premises requires express written consent from both venue management and the contracting party securing the reservation. My name was on that contract, my signature, my $6,500 deposit, and $18,000 balance payment. Olivia had filed fake authorization documents. She had forged venue consent by signing forms she had no right to sign. Harlan looked up from his tablet with the face of a man who just realized he was going to spend the next year and a half answering lawyers' questions. This is a big problem, he said. It is about to be her problem, I said. I want every piece of broadcast equipment off this property within 1 hour. Every crew member gone, no exceptions. And I need your complete security footage from 5 a.m. to now preserved and copied to a drive for my attorney. She will be sending a formal preservation request within 1 hour. But I want you to get started now. I will have facilities on it right away, and I will personally make sure the footage is protected. By 9:45 a.m., the production company was packing up fast. 4 broadcast cameras, 2 lighting rigs hidden as decorations, audio equipment stuffed in flowers, a mobile streaming van behind the catering tent, 12 crew members moving double time. The production coordinator found me in the garden. Sir, we have contracts. There is going to be legal issues if we do not deliver. I handed him Nicole O'Dara's business card. Your contract is with someone who committed permit fraud. You have been trespassing for commercial purposes without valid authorization. You have 45 minutes to clear out. After that, I am calling the cops. He stared at me, doing the math, then turned and started yelling at his crew to move faster. At 10:10 a.m., Nicole called to confirm the preservation notices had been sent via email and certified mail to Olivia's management company, the streaming platform hosting her content, and the production company. Everything was legally locked down. Any deletion of relevant content would trigger penalties and potential criminal charges for evidence tampering. At 10:30 a.m., the last production vehicle pulled out of the venue driveway. At 10:50 a.m., Olivia finally noticed something was off. I was doing a final walkthrough of the garden paths, checking for any cables or gear the crew might have left behind in their rush when I heard her screaming near the catering tent. Something about production value and somebody is getting fired. And this is sabotage. She found me 10 minutes later, storming across the lawn in her white bridal robe, hair still in curlers, face red with fury. Olivia was beautiful in that specific way that social media loves, the kind of face that photographs great from any angle. She had learned early how to use that beauty as a weapon, how to make people want to please her just by being in the room. That never worked on me. She demanded, "Where's my production team?" stopping about 6 feet from me with her hands on her hips. I looked at her the way I would look at a busted pressure valve. Gone venue policy. Your permits were fake. You forged authorization documents you had no legal right to sign. Her eyes went wide with fake shock, then narrowed. You cannot do this. It is my wedding, my content, my career. Connor is going to what? I said, cutting her off. Explain how this video is supposed to pay for your honeymoon. Explain why I should co-sign a $385,000 mortgage for someone who thinks attacking his mother is a business strategy. She went completely still. Yeah, I heard everything this morning. Every word about the guilt button, about automated teller machines with heartbeats, about how Iris would apologize to someone who stabbed her. Her mouth opened. For the first time since I had met her, she had no comeback. You are overreacting. It was content. A bit. Her hair will grow back. You are being totally unreasonable. A bit. I said, you assaulted a sleeping woman, streamed it to 52,000 people, mocked how she looks, set up hidden cameras to catch her reaction. That is not content. We are pursuing charges, and you are about to find out what that costs. I walked away. I was done talking. Behind me, she shouted something about lawyers and Connor handling this and ruining the most important day of her life. I did not look back. The ceremony started at noon without broadcast cameras, without the live stream, without the money-making scheme that had been months in the making. Just a regular wedding. Family, friends, a handful of Olivia's influencer buddies looking annoyed and bored. Iris and I sat in the front row on the groom's side. I had wrapped a silk scarf around her head that morning, navy blue with a subtle geometric pattern. She looked dignified, put together. Ray sat 3 rows back, dressed in a dark suit, watching the room like he was still on duty. He had agreed to stay for the reception, said he wanted to see how things went down. Connor's cousin, Ellen, sat on the bride's side, which told me something about where her loyalties had shifted over the years. Ellen was 28, worked in corporate event planning in Seattle, and had introduced Connor to Olivia at some networking thing 3 years ago. She had been closer to Connor than to us since he was a teenager, part of a younger generation that grew up together while I was working overseas. But I noticed her face when she first saw Iris's scarf. Olivia walked down the aisle with a smile that did not reach her eyes. Every few steps, her expression would slip for a split second, showing the rage underneath before she pasted the act back on. Connor followed behind her, jaw tight, shooting looks at me like a dog that knows it is about to get punished, but does not know when or how. The ceremony went on. Vows, rings. The officiant, some young minister neither of them actually knew, said the usual stuff about love and commitment and building a life together. I was not listening. I was watching the 2 venue security guys that Harlan had stationed by the reception hall doors at my request, watching Nicole's paralegal, a woman named Dana, sitting at a back table with a manila envelope in her bag, watching Ellen's face as she picked up on the tension filling the room. Everything was in place. The reception kicked off at 1:15 p.m. First course. Small talk, toast from people who had no clue what had happened that morning. Olivia working the room like nothing was wrong. Performing for a crowd half the size she had planned for, air-kissing friends, and taking congratulations like a pro at 2 p.m. Connor stood up and clinked his glass. He thanked everyone for coming, thanked Olivia for being his partner in everything, thanked Iris and me for our unwavering support through the years. Then it was my turn. Father of the groom, traditional toast. I stood up, straightened my jacket, walked to the small podium they had set up near the head table, picked up the wireless microphone. The room went quiet. 100 faces looking at me, waiting for the standard speech about love and family and bright futures. I will keep this short. Before we go any further, there is something everyone here needs to know about what this celebration is really about. I nodded to Harlan, standing near the venue's presentation system. The screen behind the head table lit up. I played exactly 26 seconds of carefully picked footage. Olivia walking into the bathroom in the dim morning light. Iris asleep in the bed, visible through the mirror, the clippers in Olivia's hand. Olivia approaching the bed with a smile. Iris waking up confused and scared, the first swipe across her scalp. Iris crying out, Olivia laughing right at the camera, wedding makeover time. Out with the old, in with the bold. I stopped it there. Dead silence. Someone near the back dropped their fork. The sound echoed. This morning, my wife was assaulted while she slept. Hair she had kept for 29 years was cut off and streamed to 52,000 strangers for entertainment. We filed a police report and were cooperating with the investigation. Olivia was on her feet, face white as her dress, mouth opening and closing with nothing coming out. The $25,000 wedding gift Iris and I had set aside has been redirected. As of 11 a.m. today, that money is in a trust controlled only by Iris. Connor and Olivia get nothing from us. The mortgage cosign I agreed to last month has been formally pulled. My attorney filed the paperwork this morning. Connor finally found his voice. It cracked on the first word. Dad, come on. This is crazy. It was a joke, a prank. You are completely overreacting. I looked at him. My son, the stranger wearing his face. You told Olivia your mother would not fight back because she is soft. You said guilt is my whole operating system. You called us automated teller machines with heartbeats. You said she would apologize to someone who stabbed her. I heard every word through your door this morning." His face went red. He had nothing. I nodded toward Dana at the back table. She stood, walked to the head table, calm as could be, and placed the manila envelope right in front of Olivia. "Olivia, you have been served. Civil complaint for assault, battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, invasion of privacy, and fraud. There is also a request for a temporary restraining order waiting on a judge. Until then, you are being formally notified that contact with Iris is not allowed. Venue security will enforce that today." Olivia grabbed the envelope, ripped it open. Her hands were shaking as she read the first page. She looked up at me with pure hatred. "This is insane. You cannot do this. Connor, do something." Connor just stood there frozen. His whole life, someone else had always fixed his problems. Now, there was nobody left to call. From the bride's side of the room, Ellen suddenly stood up. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. "I am not staying for this." She looked straight at Olivia. "I introduced you to this family. I vouched for you. I told them you were good, for Connor, and this is what you did." Then she looked at Iris, then at me. "I am sorry. I had no idea she could do something like this. I should have figured it out sooner." She walked out without looking back. The room exploded. People standing up, phones coming out, questions getting shouted, someone wanting to know what was going on, someone else saying they needed to leave now. I set the microphone down on the podium and walked back to Iris, held out my hand. She stood smoothly. We walked toward the exit together. Heads up. The security guys stepped forward when Olivia tried to follow, blocking her path. "Madam, please stay back." The family asked for no contact. I heard her screaming something about this not being over, about lawyers, about ruining her life. I did not turn around. We drove home that afternoon in separate cars. Ray followed in his pickup, said he would stay at our place for a few days in case Connor or Olivia tried anything reckless. I did not argue. Having him there felt right. The fallout started within hours. Ellen texted me that evening around 9 p.m. She had recorded the last 3 minutes of my speech on her phone after realizing what was about to happen. She sent me the video with a message. "Use this however you need to. I am done protecting him. I should have seen what she was years ago." Then she sent me something else, a folder of screenshots, text conversations between her and Olivia going back 18 months. Olivia asking Ellen for info about our finances, our property, our health, our retirement accounts. Olivia calling Iris the obstacle and Connor the access point. Olivia joking about how easy it would be to manage us once they controlled Connor's slice of any future inheritance. Ellen had been feeding Olivia information for over 1 year. She had thought it was harmless gossip between future family members. Girl talk, bonding. Now she understood what it actually was, intel gathering for a long-term money grab. I forwarded everything to Nicole that night. Within 1 week, Olivia's original live stream got yanked from the platform. Policy violation for non-consensual violence and harassment. Her management company, some boutique agency that handled mid-tier lifestyle creators, dropped her the following Thursday after their legal team looked at the complaint. Her main skincare sponsor killed their contract, citing brand alignment concerns. A clothing deal she had been working on went completely silent. Her follower count started dropping fast. The comment sections on her remaining posts turned toxic. Every video she uploaded got buried in negative reactions. People she had worked with unfollowed her without saying a word. The friends who had come to the wedding vanished overnight. Nobody wanted to be linked to her. The civil case moved faster than I expected. Olivia's lawyer tried to get it thrown out as a family dispute. The judge said no. Discovery was brutal. We got her financial records, communication logs, content strategy documents. She'd been planning the makeover reveal for 4 months. Had notes about shock value optimization and engagement ceiling analysis. Nicole also subpoenaed Connor's communications. Found 8 months of texts between him and Olivia planning how to get money out of us, how to work the childhood absence angle, how Iris was too scared of conflict to push back. Those texts went into evidence. The settlement came 6 months later. Olivia paid $42,000 in damages and legal fees. Agreed to a permanent injunction against any content featuring Iris. Agreed to remove all existing content that mentioned or showed any member of our family. The no-contact order was made permanent by the court. Connor tried to reach me 9 times during those 6 months. I did not answer any of the calls, did not listen to voicemails, had Nicole send a formal letter stating that all future contact should go through her office. He never once asked about his mother. I confirmed this with Nicole after looking at the communications log. Every message, every voicemail, every attempt was about himself, his situation, his money problems, his losses. Not one word about Iris. Ray checked on us every few weeks during that stretch. He would drive over on Saturday mornings, help me with yard work, sit on the back porch with Iris while she drank tea. He just showed up. That is worth more than most people realize. 4 months after the wedding, I sat down with our estate attorney and rebuilt everything from scratch. The will, both versions, mine and Iris's, the trust documents, the beneficiary names on every retirement account and life insurance policy, the transfer on death paperwork for the house, the cars, the investment accounts. Connor was taken off all of it, not reduced, not limited, gone. If Iris and I both died tomorrow, he would get exactly nothing. Everything would go to a charitable foundation we set up in Iris's mother's name, giving trade school scholarships to first-generation students in Washington state. I changed passwords on every financial account we had, set up fraud alerts and unusual activity notifications on all banking and credit services, moved Iris's separate inheritance from her parents, about $85,000 in various accounts, into a trust only she controlled with no beneficiary rights for anyone else, updated our life insurance to remove Connor as secondary beneficiary, updated our healthcare proxies and powers of attorney to take him off as emergency contact, updated every document that had his name on it. Then I wrote a certified letter explaining every change, a summary of the new will setup, a statement that our financial relationship with Connor was done for good, a note that any future contacts should go through attorneys, sent it certified mail with signature required. He showed up at our house 3 days later, no warning. Around 7 p.m., standing on the front porch with his hands jammed in his jacket pockets, looking smaller and less sure of himself than I had seen him in years. Ray was there. He stepped out onto the porch before I could answer, putting himself between Connor and the front door. "Connor, you have got to leave. Your father sent you a formal letter. Any communication goes through lawyers now." Connor's face twisted with frustration. "This is my parents' house. You cannot tell me I am not allowed to. I can tell you that showing up unannounced after getting formal legal papers is a bad move. I can tell you that your mother has made clear she does not want to see you." Connor looked past Ray at me, standing in the doorway behind him. "Dad, please just give me 5 minutes. Let me explain." I looked at my son, the boy I had raised, the man who had helped plan his mother's humiliation and streamed it to strangers for money. "There is nothing to explain. You made your choices. These are the consequences. That is how it works." I went back inside and closed the door. Ray stayed on the porch, arms crossed, until Connor's car pulled out of the driveway and was gone. Then he came inside and sat down without saying anything. 3 weeks later, Iris went to a salon downtown and had them trim the remaining patchy growth into a clean silver pixie cut. She looked in the mirror for a long time when they were done, running her fingers through the new style, turning her head to see it from different angles. Then she smiled, the first genuine one I had seen since that bathroom floor. She started taking charge of stuff she had handed off to me for decades, opened her own checking account at a different bank, set up her own investment portfolio with money from her trust, started going to financial literacy classes at the library, made her own calls about managing money without asking what I thought. 29 years of marriage, and I had never seen her like this. 2 years had passed since that morning in Gig Harbor. Olivia's content career never bounced back. Her follower count leveled off somewhere around 60,000, down from 200,000 at her peak. She is doing sponsored posts for discount supplement companies now, budget skincare brands, affiliate links for products nobody has heard of. She tried to pivot after the wedding footage spread. Fitness content, cooking tutorials, home organization stuff. Nothing stuck. The wedding video follows her everywhere. Every time she gets any traction, someone posts it in her comments. Every brand that thinks about working with her runs a basic search and finds the story. The settlement is public record for anyone who looks. Connor and Olivia never got the Bellevue house. Could not close without the gift money. Could not get financing without my cosign. They are renting a 2-bedroom apartment in Federal Way now, 45 minutes from where they thought they would be living. 45 minutes from the life they had been planning to build on our backs. Connor lost his job at the logistics company about 8 months after the wedding. Official reason was position elimination due to restructuring. Real reason, according to Ellen, was office gossip. Someone had found the footage and passed it around. Human resources did not want the headache. They managed him out quietly during the next round of layoffs. That is how these things usually go. Nobody fires you for something like this directly. They just find a reason. He bounced around for a few months after that. Applied to a bunch of companies in his field. 2 of them went cold after the interview stage. No explanation. He is doing warehouse work now, night shift at a distribution center. Ellen stayed in touch with us occasionally after everything settled down. Nothing regular, just updates when something worth knowing happened. She felt responsible for bringing Olivia into our family. I told her more than once that she was not the one who made the choices that mattered. She seems to have accepted that. Connor sends letters sometimes, no return address. like he thinks that makes them feel more personal. Always the same general stuff. He has had time to think about his mistakes. He hopes we can figure out a way to fix things someday. He never mentions his mother. I read them once when they show up. Then I file them in a drawer. Documentation in case he ever claims we refused all contact. Last month, Ellen called to pass along a message. Connor had asked her to tell us he wanted to come to Thanksgiving this year. Said he missed being part of the family. Said he had changed. Said everyone deserves another shot. I told her to tell him no. Some doors do not reopen just because the person who slammed them decides to start knocking. She called back 1 hour later. Said he did not take it well. Said he could not understand why I would not give him another chance to prove himself. I felt nothing. Iris and I had dinner last week at a restaurant on the water. At some point during dinner, she reached across the table and took my hand. "Thank you," she said, "for that morning, for everything after, for not trying to smooth it over or keep the peace." I shrugged. "You would do the same for me." She thought about that for a second. "I would now. I am not sure I would have 2 years ago. Back then, I probably would have tried to keep everyone happy, act like everything was fine so nobody had to deal with consequences. And now I get that keeping the peace like that just means eating all the damage yourself so other people do not have to face what they have done. It is not noble, it is not generous, it is just slow self-destruction dressed up as kindness." That was probably the most honest thing either of us had said in 30 years of marriage. I have thought a lot about how we ended up here, about all the years of writing checks and making excuses and hoping problems would just fix themselves, about the son I raised to see his parents as resources instead of people. I do not have clean answers. I do not have a tearful reunion scene where everyone learns lessons and grows as people. What I have is this: boundaries, clear ones, enforced ones, the kind I should have set 20 years ago. Loving someone does not mean you let them destroy you. Sacrifice is not supposed to be a one-way street, and silence, when it goes on too long, stops being patience and becomes permission. Iris and I drove home that night with the windows cracked open. Neither of us needed to fill the silence. Just two people who survived something ugly and came out the other side still together, still choosing each other. As the curtain falls on this personal story, let us look at the bigger picture. The story may have ended, but its echoes open up a larger discussion about true boundaries in relationships and how easily they are eroded when love is confused with obligation. What happened here is not just a shocking act of cruelty, but the result of a long, quiet pattern, years of unchecked entitlement, of generosity mistaken for weakness, of silence misread as permission. In many families, the idea of keeping the peace is elevated above all else, even when that peace comes at the cost of dignity. We are taught that sacrifice is noble, that parents must endure, that harmony must be preserved at any price. But this story reveals the hidden cost of that belief. When boundaries are never enforced, they don't just fade, they invite exploitation. And yet, there is something deeply transformative in what followed. I find myself thinking not about the moment of humiliation, but about the moment of decision, the point where silence finally broke. Because stepping in, exposing the truth, and refusing to protect wrongdoing is often labeled as tearing the family apart. But is it really destruction, or is it the first honest attempt to rebuild something real? When you choose to draw a line, you are not rejecting your family. You are rejecting the version of it that thrives on imbalance and harm. That takes a kind of courage most people never talk about. It is far easier to endure quietly than to confront loudly, far easier to absorb pain than to force others to face it. Maybe you've seen something like this in your own life. Maybe you've been the one expected to forgive endlessly, to give without question, to smooth things over so no one feels uncomfortable. And maybe, like Iris, you were taught that kindness means enduring anything. But there comes a moment when kindness toward others becomes cruelty toward yourself. And in that moment, choosing yourself is not selfish, it is necessary. It is the only way to stop a cycle that would otherwise continue, not just for you, but for everyone involved. What lingers here is not revenge, but clarity. A realization that love without respect is not love at all, and that family without accountability is simply proximity, not connection. The hardest truth is that sometimes, the people closest to us are the ones who need boundaries the most, and the ones least willing to accept them. So let me ask you this. If protecting your peace meant permanently cutting off someone you once loved deeply, someone who now only brings harm, would you have the strength to close that door and never open it again?